Hello. Well, we're back on the Dagametsa farm, and Henn and I today are going to make sauerkraut. We brought a large 6-gallon crock that Marina has supplied, and we're going to make some apukapsas, or sauerkraut, as known in the more English term. So we're going to head downstairs and see what sort of concoctions we can come up with.
So start off with a clean cabbage. Take any wilted outer leaves we'll take off. In this case we don't have a problem. And then, so slice this in half. And then we just shred it into the sink. See the cabbage turning red, you stop.
In a nice big crock. This is a 6-gallon crock that we're using today.
You clean that?
Yep. Cleaned it really well. Scrubbed it, cleaned it, scrubbed it some more. Gotta be nice and clean. And cleanliness is godliness. So you're going to mix the salt with the cabbage in the sink.
Yeah, it's easy to stir.
Well, 4 tablespoons for 5 pounds, and those are they're about 3 pounds each, I guess, though. So
yeah,
you probably get away with
1.
Yeah, not quite 3.
And then
And they're all going to be roughly around
caraway
the same.
seeds. Just do that by eye.
Sprinkle.
Yeah. And then mix it up here. Okay, so
Cabbage into crock. There's
so this sort of crushes it and gets the salt working. They normally don't have to add any liquid to it because the salt pulls the water out of the cabbage, so you'll end up with enough. So what I do then, we have this excellent Grand Cru wine Tammo made, and his aunt wasn't entirely enthusiastic, so I'll give it a dash of wine.
Okay, so maybe a half a cup of wine.
Just my eye.
Yeah.
We don't use good wine on purpose because you end up drinking half the bottle and then you never get the sauerkraut finished.
Everything comes to a grinding halt.
Pack it down. That also gets the air out of it. The air is not really conducive to with sauerkraut. So just until you can feel it starting to get soggy off a bit already. Water is starting to come out of the sauerkraut.
Oh, so you're starting to see the liquid actually. Yeah.
And
then repeat.
we'll repeat it the next one.
Alright. Now I know what I'm going to be doing. I only got 6 heads to go. So, pretty simple stuff.
Yeah, these things that take the outer ones off.
Yeah, so any outer leaves we toss into the happy compost.
Might keep a few because traditionally they at the very end of it they used to cover that with the leaves.
Ah.
Just a couple of them.
Yeah, about 3 pounds, and so 3 pounds, and you have about 2.5 tablespoons of salt.
Yeah.
All right. So cut the end off, cut her in half.
I was using bigger cabbages, so I cut them into quarters. But whatever's easy to handle. Doesn't make economic sense. Is you can go out and buy made in Poland sauerkraut for $1 a litre or something like that, $1 a kilo. But that's not the point.
Just doing it, having the fun doing it,
You know where the sauerkraut's been? New world was discovered by the Vikings, partly due to sauerkraut. The voyages from Norway, lasted for months and months, and one of the big concerns was scurvy, lack of vitamin C. And the Vikings knew that sauerkraut was its anti-scorbutic content, so they would, on their long journeys, they would take kegs and kegs of sauerkraut, and then they never suffered from scurvy. The Brits took another additional 500 years to figure that thing out until they found limes, and they didn't. The Brits were into sauerkraut.
That's the term limey for these sailors, I guess, at one point. Yeah. Yeah.
So we put another 2.5.
So a 3-pound head of cabbage, getting about 2.5 tablespoons of coarse pickling salt. And then some caraway. Maybe a 1/4 handful there, just a sprinkle. And then start to mix it up in the sink. Best place to do it. And into the crock. What a crock!
So, another bit of Tammo's excellent wine.
Dash of the finest. 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, something like that.
Whatever.
Whatever works. And if the wine has turned to vinegar, that's even better. Which this one probably has.
And as this thing starts working, it starts generating lactic acid, which is really what makes the sauerkraut. And it's fairly important to try to keep the air off the top. Otherwise, it'll start turning mold on.
So mold needs the air to grow.
Yeah.
So you can keep it anaerobic as much as possible for fermentation. Anaerobic?
Anaerobic.
Anaerobic. And then after it's sat in this crock for probably about, well, if this thing fills up, probably be about good 4 or 5 weeks, maybe more.
Something like that.
Yeah. And then good idea to transfer it over to jars and store in a cool place.
Or put it in freezer bags, large freezer bags, and pop them in the freezer. That way they'll keep forever.
Alright, so you can freeze
That's probably the preferable way of doing it.
And serving sizes, basically.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
Alright.
All yours.
So I'll take it from here.
I won't fire up the sauna.
Excellent. Sounds good. Now I know what to do.
Some people add carrots and stuff like that to it. But I figure, well, anything you want to add, you can add when you're actually cooking the sauerkraut.
Right.
5 minutes.
Exactly. It can be done later.
Okay, so we have what? About 10 heads of cabbage?
I think it was 11.
11, about pushing about 3 pounds a piece. So
30 something pounds of cabbage in here.
yeah, but it packs down real well. So you keep tamping it until the moisture starts coming up to the surface, and the salt is pulling the water out of the cabbage, so that's the part from the wine that we put in, because that's the only liquid we had to put in here. And as this thing works, it'll get more and more water out. Eventually it'll be covered by brine. So I think that's about it for the tamping. So as a final gesture on whether this serves in the real purpose or not, the old Estonians used to take some of the outer leaves and then just lay them over the top.
nothing else, it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah. It looks Christmassy.
Maybe they're sacrificial in case any insects get in there. They'll chew on those leaves as opposed to the stuff below.
Well, not only that, if the rest of the goes to hell, you can always eat these.
There you have it.
That looks very nice.
Very nice.
Looks almost professional.
Yeah.
Now this is going to have to sit for about 4 to 6 weeks or something like that before it's really edible. And the trick is to keep the air and the bugs and everything out of it. So that can be done by a number of ways, by putting some kind of cover on it with a stone weight, but anyway, you have to keep some weight on it and then to keep the air out of it. So one way of doing it is if we just take a plastic bag, yay, put that over the top of it. Now obviously this doesn't seal it very well, but what you do, make some brine. Now this is a fairly strong brine. So what we'll do is we'll put one of these and just 2 water. Okay, so this has now providing some weight on top of it, and it seals that thing fairly well. Okay, so but what we'll do, however, is eventually you're going to have to take the water off. So we'll just tie this bag up loosely. Okay.
And if you're worried about your bag, you can always double bag it. If you're worried about
Yeah, well these are fairly strong bags, and if the bag leaks, it doesn't matter. It's only brine, which is with
salt water
anyway.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a second one and just cover it up. Okay.
So sealing it up now so that keeps the pests out of it and keeps the air out and the dust out, because it's going to be sitting for a month and a half. You got it at a high traffic area.
What we might do is just get some
String or elastic or even a bungee cord, or
get some string.
String will work. Wrapped and ready to go.
Leftover cabbage leaves,
Compost. Now it's cleanup time. So now you've seen it all.
And the leftover wine.
Leftover wine
We drink.
will be just fine. Cheers.
Cheers.
Another glass over here needs filling. And it's been another great day of preparing preserves and pickling and getting pickled.
So this thing should be kept in a reasonably cool place, probably 70 degrees. So some cool water in the basement will do just fine.
So between 60 and 70 degrees probably be fine, and
Yeah, whatever.
in about a month, so maybe 6 weeks, we'll
We'll have a sauerkraut party.
have a party. See you then.